We're shifting the workflow's grand design, leaving old school limits far behind. Forge deeper human connection, a synergy of new direction.
Let's build something brilliant together.
The Marblism Partner Network.
30 seconds. That is all it takes for a founder's morning to go sideways. A missed call from a customer, a contract asking for a payment term you never approved, a prospect requesting a discount, and somehow you are still deciding whether a routine appointment reply should say Tuesday or Wednesday. The business is moving, but every road leads back to you. What if the answer is not more automation? What if the answer is a rule for what should reach you at all? Welcome to Marblism Partner Network, the show that helps entrepreneurs, creators, consultants, and small business owners use AI agents in real business situations. I'm Eva Marble, and today we are looking at a simple operating idea. Agents handle defined routine work, prepare the decisions that need your judgment, and stop when something genuinely unusual appears. No robot CEO fantasy required, just a clearer way to protect your attention.
I like the no robot CEO disclaimer, especially because a lot of owners do not want AI making every decision. They want the right lead followed up before the lead forgets why they opened the contact form.
Exactly. They want fewer interruptions, not fewer relationships.
And fewer hidden risks. An agent can sort information, identify an unusual term, draft a message, or prepare a recommendation. It should not quietly turn missing context into confidence. Qualification is not authorization, and a summary is not a final legal decision.
Good. So let's give the idea a shape people can actually use. Think of 3 lanes. 1, handle automatically when the task is defined and low risk. 2, prepare for approval when judgment is needed. 3, escalate immediately when the situation is sensitive, unusual, or consequential.
For sales, a routine follow-up can be drafted and queued. A prospect asking, "Can you send the case study again?" is not usually a board meeting, but a request for a custom scope or a major discount
Is not routine just because it arrived in the same inbox. That is where the rule has to look at the content, not merely the channel. Fair. I would normally say keep the momentum, but momentum without context is just a faster way to make a promise nobody approved.
That may be the most responsible sales sentence ever recorded. The practical point is that the owner should not receive a blank screen with a question mark. They should receive the message, the relevant history, what is missing, a proposed next step, and a clearly marked decision.
I would adjust one phrase. Sometimes there is more than one decision. A contract question can involve the payment term, the delivery obligation, and who is allowed to approve a change. If the system compresses all of that into one cheerful button that says review, it has not created clarity.
That is fair. I was trying to say do not make the owner rediscover the whole situation. But you are right. The queue should expose the decisions, not pretend every situation has one neat answer.
Clarity first, signatures second. I translated the legal language into plain English can be a useful handoff. It cannot mean the system approved this agreement for you.
Let's test the model with a Monday morning at a small consulting firm. 5 things arrive almost together. A new inquiry, a missed call from a current customer, a contract with an unusual payment term, a request for a marketing post, and a promising prospect who has gone quiet. Same owner, 5 different kinds of work.
I'll take the new inquiry. The useful first pass is not, this person is definitely a customer. It is stated need, desired timeline, service fit, information provided, and information missing. If the inquiry says, we need help with a launch next month, I can prepare a response that asks about scope and points to the right next step.
And what can move without approval?
A standard acknowledgement, a request for missing information, and a link to an approved resource. What stops me is a promise about results, a custom price, a complex scope question, or anything that changes the offer. I can prepare the handoff, but I do not sign the business up for work it has not agreed to.
That is lane 1 for the ordinary inquiry, and lane 2 for the unusual scope. Now, the missed call. The owner sees the alert, thinks, I'll call back in 5 minutes, and 3 hours later, the alert has become part of the furniture.
The response can begin with the basics: who called, when, what they asked for, and whether there is an existing customer record. A routine request can receive a prepared reply, but if the caller describes a service failure, threatens a dispute, or shares sensitive information, the system should stop and send it to a person.
So the customer is not trapped in an automated maze, and the owner is not forced to listen to every voicemail before knowing which one matters.
Right. Fast is helpful when it is accurate. Fast and wrong is simply an efficient problem generator.
Then the contract arrives. This is where a responsible system earns its keep by refusing to sound certain too soon. It can identify the payment term, compare it with the company's stated preferences, and mark what is unusual. It can say, here's the clause that matters most, here is the question it raises, and here is the information a qualified reviewer needs.
Exactly. The trigger might be a non-standard obligation, unclear ownership, unusual liability language, or a request to interpret rights and responsibilities. I can organize and explain the issue. I am not the final authority, and the owner should know when qualified legal review is appropriate. And while everyone is carefully examining the contract, the marketing lead is asking for a post by noon. That request does not need to wait in the same queue as a liability question.
Right. A content agent can organize research, draft the article, suggest a headline, and shape the topic around what customers are actually searching for. But the human still checks the claim, the point of view, and whether the draft sounds like the company rather than like a very enthusiastic encyclopedia.
Good content should do more than fill space. It should answer a real question and support a real business goal. But I would still want a person checking anything that touches a customer promise. Search visibility is useful. Accidentally promising unlimited results is less useful.
Now imagine the owner's queue at 10 o'clock. 3 lines, not 50 messages. First, routine inquiry, information captured, standard reply ready. Second, contract payment term, unusual language found, owner review required. Third, customer complaint, context attached, immediate human response needed.
That is much better than a dashboard full of green checks. Green checks can be decorative. A useful queue tells you what happened, what did not happen, and why the item is waiting for you.
And that is the part founders can build without turning adoption into a 6-month transformation program. Pick one repeated workflow, write down the inputs, decide what the agent may complete, decide what requires approval, then name the escalation triggers and the person who owns the handoff.
Start with something that happens often enough to matter. Missed call follow-up, new inquiry intake, a prospect waiting for the next step. If you start by mapping every process in the company, you may create a beautiful plan and never use it. Add one more question. What would make this unusual? A missing document, an angry customer, a large financial impact, a new type of promise, private information, or a request nobody has handled before. The happy path is not the whole workflow. The warning signs are part of the workflow too.
Here is the sentence I want partners and business owners to remember. Automate the predictable, prepare the consequential, and escalate the exceptional.
And do not sell it as replacing the person. If your audience loses leads because calls go unanswered, show the intake rule, the missed call handoff, and the exact point where a human takes over. I turned that bottleneck into a workflow people can understand. That is a stronger story anyway. People trust a workflow they can see. They do not need a magical promise. They need to know what happens on an ordinary day and what happens when the ordinary day stops being ordinary.
The benefit is not that the owner disappears. The benefit is that the owner returns to the conversations only they can have. The difficult customer, the meaningful commitment, the strategic choice. the judgment call that deserves their full attention.
The business gets faster where speed is safe.
And more careful where care is necessary.
That is the exception-only business, not maximum automation. Better judgment about where automation belongs. Start with one repetitive task, define its inputs, set its approval rule, write down its escalation triggers, and expand only after the first workflow is reliable. Thanks for listening to Marbleism Partner Network. Subscribe for more episodes on Marbleism AI agents, practical business workflows, and responsible growth. Before you go, choose one repetitive task and ask 3 questions. Can the agent handle it? Should it prepare it for approval? Or does it need immediate human attention? You can explore Marbleism and the partner opportunity through the link in the show notes. Marbleism, where your AI agents do the office work, so you can do the customer work. See you next time.
The Marbleism Partner Network. We're shifting